what are companies doing now, right? Or what are some of the sort of the practical challenges that you're seeing as you think about, welcoming perhaps maybe the younger or the line managers in the system? And second, even if you're existing in a company, like if you've been there for about a decade, right? How do I kind of navigate from that point onwards into the system? Yeah.
Yeah, no, both are really good questions. So, everything's changed. Uh, I would say the good days are yet to come because I think we're headed in the right direction. But where everything has changed is, as you said, the power balance has shifted. It's shifted a lot. Say a couple of years ago, the organization was king. And, if you had a job application, you'd have like hundreds of applicants. You still will, by the way. You
Yeah.
will still have hundreds of applicants. They may not be the people you're going after, but you'll get people applying. The organization was boss. You could say, I like you, don't like you, put out a list and, you were done. Today, of course, that's not the case at all. If you're an organization of any size, any reckoning, then probably a website like Glassdoor or Fishbowl or some of the others, are platforms where anyone who's entering even your application process is, writing about it. So, how were you treated right from the start? Were you, how intelligent was the recruitment process? So it's the candidates are evaluating the organizations on how good a job the organization is doing. And that includes everything, right from the way, they reached out to you, to how intelligent the interview process itself was. Who were the interviewers? What was the quality of the interview? What kind of feedback did you get afterwards? Did you learn something from the interview process? Now, these are a whole lot of expectations that simply weren't there earlier. It was you either got the job, you didn't get the job, you moved on. But today, applicants expect a lot more, and they are writing about it. So if you're in an organization, you have to be conscious of the fact that, people who are going to apply to your organization are first going to read reviews.
Yeah.
And I do. In fact, when I work with a client organization, the first thing I do is look at their Glassdoor reviews, because it gives me a sense of, okay, how are people experiencing the organization? And that's, people who've applied and have had just, the interview process level of interaction, as well as people who are working there for a long time. So everything's far more public. That's a reality.
Yeah.
So the first thing which has happened is that for an organization, managing the hiring process requires a completely different outlook now. So just the kind of care which many organizations have given to the customer experience, right? Mapping out different touch points, making sure that customers leave with a sense of having been looked after. It's not very different now for people who are part of the application process itself. And that's a whole lot of effort, by the way. None of this comes effortlessly. Of course, there are applicant tracking system, there's technology which can, help you along. But, a lot of it is still fairly time intensive, thinking about the process, training enough people to be good interviewers, having good selection processes, giving feedback. There's just a whole lot more work that goes into being good at the hiring process. And this is just, I'm just speaking about one part of it. Before this, like you said, this employee value proposition, it's becoming more and more important. And what's interesting is how the dimensions have changed. So let's say a decade ago, and we don't have to go too far back, but say a decade ago, it was a lot about, okay, how good is this brand? It's going to help my career. What's the compensation? Do people do well, those who've joined here? Those were the big ones that applicants would consider. But today, because of this huge shift in expectations, and a lot of it is driven by just how different Gen Z is, the topic of your series, it's about that also, but it's also about things like, okay, is this organization doing good for the world? What about the CEO? Does the CEO seem like a person who is, taking the stands, the kind of stands you'd want the CEO to take? Can I trust these people? Am I a good fit here from a, does our vibe match? So the kinds of dimensions that, applicants are using to evaluate organizations are quite different. And I mean, I'll throw in the flexibility one as well. Will I have flexible working options, or is it the more traditional, 5 or 6? 6 is now really hard, but
Yeah.
5-day a week kind of working, 9 to 5. So there are a lot more dimensions that have entered, and many which just weren't there. Things like ethics, things like how good is this organization for the world, things like the personal track record of leadership teams, have they taken the right kinds of stands? These just simply weren't so, they weren't so important 10 years ago, but they are today.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Interesting, Shalini, you were mentioning, I was talking to a colleague, and he was mentioning to me this company called SAP. Is an ERP company, right? And a lot of their young talent, in this case, perhaps the Gen Z generation, what they've done, just to your point, to recruit, is that they've created about 40 TikTok videos from the senior leadership team, actually trying to share, how good they are, and the value proposition and the culture of the company. Because from their research, they found out that, look, they just don't have the attention span, and also that you mentioned that the actual application time, again, is online, and it's less than 10 minutes. And so they've got 40 videos that they've built over a span of 1 year. But furthermore, they've actually gone a step further to say that, look, if you're getting posted in SAP in, let's say, Los Angeles, then they actually have a video which says that, look, welcome to Los Angeles, and then they actually say that, okay, this is where you can go over the weekend to shop, and this is where you can go for eating, and so on. So they've actually kind of personalized it a step further to give them a preview to the city in which they're going to be living, right? Just because I think they feel that transition will make it easier, or hopefully that transition or that information about the transition will attract them. But you're absolutely correct. I think it seems like the burden, it's almost like the employee has now, like the consumer, who has far more control, right? and he's going to look at Glassdoor and all these sites to say that, look, what's in it for me, right? I can always go somewhere else.